Hello everyone, and welcome to the 241st episode of Analyzing Evil, featuring Bricktop from Snatch. This character has been requested quite a lot over the years, and after watching this film, it's not hard to see why. Gangster films are always a delight to watch, even more so when a film manages to bring something fresh to the genre that either builds upon existing tropes in a new and exciting way, or takes a different direction than you might have been expecting that turns out to be just as, if not even better than the formula that we're all used to seeing when watching these types of films. And that's Snatch in a nutshell for you. Featuring a star-studded cast that does much to enhance its story, this film is a true treasure. But no treasure of a story is complete without a treasure of a villain, and Bricktop is certainly that. A man so brutal, snide, and disgustingly charming that he's managed to become one of the most memorable villains of the entire gangster film genre. And in this video, we're going to be talking about why that is, using everything we're given about him in this story. So without further ado, let's begin. There are a lot of kingpin gangsters in fiction that we can't help but be enamored with, and that's certainly by design. Men who are loud, boisterous, cool, savvy, hilarious, and menacing that has made many of us both young and old yearn to have just a small taste of the glamorous life they seem to live on a daily basis, despite the gravity of their crimes. Men who live fast and hard that also often die in much the same way. But then there are those kingpins, however rare they are, that are as loathsome as the crimes they unleash upon the world. Men who are as nasty on the outside as they are on the inside. And there are a few better examples of such a person than the foul-mouthed, cruel, and brutal Cockney bastard that was Bricktop. Bricktop was not your typical gang boss. In fact, for those of you who are more familiar with American gangster stories, he might just be the furthest thing from it. No offense to any Brits watching, but at least in my experience, when someone thinks of a gangster, someone's cheeky granddad doesn't exactly come to mind, but appearances can be very, very deceiving. And well, Bricktop might look like a cheeky granddad, but he's far from being one, as he could very well be one of the most brutal gangsters ever to grace the silver screen.
Oh no, Mr. Polkwood, it looks great. It do you proud, Governor.
You reckon that's what people should do for me, do you, Gary? Do me proud?
It's what you deserve, Mr. Polkwood.
Pull your tongue out of my arsehole, Gary. Dogs do that. You're not a dog, are you, Gary?
No, I'm not.
However, you do have all the characteristics of a dog, Gary. All except loyalty.
It's rumoured that Bricktop's favourite means of dispatch involves a stun gun, a plastic bag, a roll of tape, and a pack of hungry pigs.
That's Bricktop, and he's one mean son of a bitch. Head of a sizable gang in London, I'm sure Bricktop runs all sorts of illicit businesses. But in this story, it's his involvement in bookmaking and illicit boxing rings that takes center stage. He's not a man who's in it for the sport, though. No, like any man of his caliber, he's in it for the money. Lives don't matter in the slightest to men like Bricktop, human or not. For as Turkish puts it, Bricktop's bookies deal in anything that involves blood and pain. And aside from money, that's what Bricktop's primary delight in this world is.
Look me now, you dirty fucker, won't you? Shits himself when you put him in a ring. Poke him with a stick, you watch his bollocks grow.
Violence is a central part of Bricktop's organization, and not just because he's a gangster, but because he's a sadistic monster who delights in exacting his pound of flesh from his enemies whenever necessary, or even when it isn't necessary. As in Bricktop's introductory scene, we find him ordering the murder of two of his men, one whom he berates and likens to a dog before having his other thugs cart him off to be fed to pigs, and he orders the exact same thing to be done to the other after stating that he has no time for grouses, which is a slang term for someone who complains a lot. So it is that Bricktop was feared all across the underworld as a merciless man who one should take no chances with. For if you crossed him, you either became indebted to him and faced the consequences of being beholden financially to such a horrific man, or you lost your life in any number of gruesome ways, whether that be with a bullet to the head, a trip to a concrete pen filled with rabid dogs, or a spot at the pig farm where all lives Bricktop orders destroyed go, alive or not. But that's precisely why Bricktop was so successful in his chosen profession. Because he had built up a reputation that most, if not all around him, feared to such an extent that they wouldn't dare go against him in any way, and were forced to acquiesce to his wishes whenever they crossed paths with him. He didn't just do it alone though, as with a reputation like that comes those flocking to it willing to join in on the murderous and lucrative fun, making it so all the poisonous violence that Bricktop was constantly brewing in his mind would be carried out by his henchmen without him ever having to lift a finger. As the man he was, a crime boss with a reputation for acts of unhinged violence, Bricktop was in the unique position of being able to toy with everyone around him. And aside from the aforementioned violence he had his men unleash on people on a daily basis, that's where a lot of the terror of his character comes from. For a man who was able to toy with another in dangerous situations like the ones Bricktop found himself in, is ultimately a man who holds within his grasp a sizable amount of power that should never be trifled with.
Here, Errol, I don't think he likes me. You don't like me, do you, boy?
I don't know what you mean.
Do you know what nemesis means? A righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent. Personified in this case by a horrible cunt. Me.
Bricktop was quite the repugnant man, one who was willing to burn down the home of a man who he felt had slighted him with his mother still inside, and who was going to murder the rest of that man's family if he didn't throw a fight for him so he could earn himself and his associates some income. But as with any rotten soul willing to harm the lives of others in such gruesome ways for their own gain, Bricktop attracted the ire of that very man whose mother he had killed. And one-upping him at his own game, Mickey managed to ensure that Bricktop would die in much the same manner that so many others had during his reign of terror. And at this end, what is there to say about the ruthless scumbag that was Bricktop? As a villain, he's as entertaining as they come. A man who's confident, grimy, and utterly without a moral compass, who sickens a viewer as much as he glues their eyes to the screen with his smart aleck comments and his gleeful sadism. But entertainment aside, he was an abhorrent creature who none should envy and all should resent. For hidden beneath the veneer of an elderly citizen lay a monster who would sooner murder you and your entire family to earn $1 than he would stretch out his hand if you were drowning. There is no excuse for men like Bricktop, only revilement for what they were and what they did. And though he and the film he's in are quite the watch that I'd say nearly anyone would get a kick out of, the fact remains that he was rotten to the core, a man who was likely responsible for dozens, if not upwards of 100 murders over the course of his life. Murders that were committed for the sake of enriching and empowering himself. A man whose entire life was defined by evil. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Analyzing Evil, and I hope you've enjoyed. What are your thoughts on Bricktop? Did I miss anything? Let me know down below and leave a suggestion for a villain you'd like to see featured while you're at it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. A big thank you to all of my subscribers, my patrons, my members, anyone who's decided to honor me with a super thank, and especially Elijah Kai VA, our Dark Lord channel member, and a most vile thank you to those whose names you're seeing on screen now. Join the channel's Discord server and subreddit to interact with myself and the community, and follow me on the social media platforms listed below to keep up with the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon.